Today's message from Reverend Christian Sorensen was recorded May 1st, 2016, and it's titled, From the Inside Out. Subtitled, Nothing Can Touch You. Fears are purged out. You walk with assurance. Peace comes with grace, and your actions become congruent with what's going on inside. Featured upcoming events this month at Seaside include Thursday, May 5th, Earth Care 2016 film screening of This Changes Everything, and Friday, May 27th, 2016, James von Praagh and Lynn Probert, An Evening of Spirit. At the end of Christian's message, you'll be able to hear a testimony from somebody that went last year and is going back again this year. So come visit us at www.seasidecenter.org or join us in Encinitas, California, USA sometime, where great music, a spirited message, and a joyful, loving community always await you.
Feel the joy, feel the peace, and the comfort of home, 'cause all are welcome here. Yes, all are welcome here.
Right. Hey, this morning is about From the Inside Out, and I really like my writing this week because so often, think about build that white light around you, you're protected. But, imagine if that Spirit is flowing through you, you got that fire hose of God on, there's nothing to protect yourself from, because what you are is an emanation of that divine light and that divine life, and nothing can touch you. So any of the fears or the concern are purged out. They are gone. You can be taking the class with Kelly Jean and learn how to purge out your system good. And you can work with me to get that consciousness flowing so nothing can remain in your world, physical or mental. How does that sound for a holistic plan? There you go. So what you want to come out is the Word of God. That Word of God is that conscious awareness of God. It is that presence of God. It is a divine realization that Spirit is everything, that is infinite, and that I am part of that infinite expression. And as I walk this world, I am that made manifest, and there is no one or no thing that can deny that. That is the power you have when you're coming from the inside out. You begin to walk with an assurance, with a comfort, and with a composure that no one can take from you, because you're not doing battle. You're not using your energy to protect yourself from. How often do we use our energy to protect ourselves from something or someone, and we're exhausted? You got it. Okay, so when you're coming from the inside out, you're all powerful in the midst of all things. You got that? Because there's only one power. And there's a story of a country that was at war, and the invaders were taking over, and they were entering this one village, and all the people before the invaders got there just headed out towards the hills. They took everything of value. They just ran, and they hid out in the hills. And when the general got into the town, and the town was empty, he called his troops together and said, "Where are the people? Who is here that we can, put into slavery, that we can, pillage and steal from, and just, make them follow us and bow before me?" And he said, but they're all gone. They all ran in fear, and he just became all irate. He says, there's got to be somebody around here. And they said, well, there's this one holy man miles out of town in a hermitage. Let's go there. And there he went. He went there, he stormed into that house, found the old holy guy just sitting there in full lotus, blissed out. And he said, you must bow to me. And the guy looked up at him with those eyes just in a place of peace, and didn't respond. And he just got more, the general, the commander, this barbaric being just got more irate. And he said, do you not know who I am? I am the man who can kill you without batting an eyelid. And the guy just gazes with the commander with a sense of peace and said, don't you know who I am? I am the man that you can kill without batting an eyelid. And something happened in that exchange. And he just bowed to him and got up and said, troops, let's go. And he left the village. See, that's the power that comes when you're coming from the inside out. You're not trying to protect. You're not trying to fight. There's something inside of you that is greater than anything that this world can throw at you. There's a peace that comes. You know, we talk about a peace that passes any understanding. It's like sometimes the sense of peace in this situation isn't very logical, but you know what? There's a peace here that passes that kind of understanding. Not the kind of peace that the world gives you, who gives you the things, but there's a peace that I give you, that God says, a peace that I give you. And when I can come to know this peace, I no longer need to fight or manipulate or lie my way through this world. There is a peace that comes with a grace. It comes with an ease. It comes from the inside out. It's not something that you find out there in the world. So whatever comes your way, you're able to stand with composure as that holy guy did and just be true from the inside, what's coming on the inside. I want to follow up on last week's story about the convention that was going to Tennessee. And the law came to the governor's desk, and the governor passed the bill into law on Wednesday that made it legal to practice discrimination against the LGBTQ community. And the United Centers for Spiritual Living has said that, you know what, it is not a science of mind principle to be able to consciously outwardly practice discrimination. And we are going to pull out our business convention from Tennessee. It's... You know, Ernest Holmes, the founder of religious science, said, we've got to do more than just embrace ourselves. We have got to somehow figure out how to put our arms around the shoulders of all of humanity. And so what Science of Mind has done with saying that they have canceled their contract with the hotel, along with other conventions. I mean, there's a lot of people pulling out. There's businesses that are pulling out. But they also said, you know what, we want to create a strategic alliance, get into a partnership with other New Thought communities, with the LGBTQ community and advocacies, and the civic leaders, as well as those of divergent thought, and get engaged in dialogue and conversation and action as to how we can create a world that works for everybody. Yes. So you take action and you continue the action in ways that can make a difference. And so when we are willing to say, my actions, I want them to be congruent with what is going on the inside. And sometimes I have to make a choice that is costly, that is expensive, but I'm going to stand with my brothers and sisters. I'm going to stand with those individuals that I believe in. I'm going to speak the words of truth where I can. And what I'm going to do is pay attention to actions of people. James Von Praagh was coming to Seaside, and I just want to give you a heads up. We sold out half of the tickets already, which is ahead of where we were last year when we sold out. And he wrote in his book, it's just an interesting perspective. He said, how do people know when they're living their own spirituality? They need to be aware that they're aligning themselves with a power that is much bigger than their personality, but at the same time, bring a strong sense of their self and their place into the scheme of things. Do they have a sense of mindfulness that goes beyond their personality and nurtures a strong sense of self? My husband, Brian, is a great barometer for this. Even though he is not a professional in the spiritual community, he has a good sense of whether someone who is a spiritual teacher walks his or her talk. If a professional stands in front of hundreds of people at an event and speaks about mindfulness, but later, when we're out having dinner together, that person is rude to the waitress or waiter, Brian checks out. He has no tolerance for people who don't practice what it is they preach. Is right. You got people saying, we have a belief of love, but yet I'm going to discriminate. Are you paying attention? You got individuals or religions say, there is no judgment, and yet there is, wow, there's judgment there. What we want to do is to learn to pay attention to the actions and not get caught up in the smokescreen and the words that people are saying, but what are the actions that are being expressed in a particular moment in time and space that I'm participating in? But what are your actions saying also? Because sometimes people have seen your actions and this is now who they believe you are, and you're pegged, but you've been hiding behind, acceptability or, trying to be accepted. There's a Sufi story of a man who woke up inside of a coffin and he started banging on the lid, and they opened up the lid, and he was at his own funeral service. And as he sat up, he said, guys, hey, I'm alive. I'm not dead. And obviously, a gasp went through the crowd. It's like, but then when somebody in the crowd stood up and said, but the doctor certified you're dead, the priest said you're dead, and the coroner said you're dead. You must be dead. With that, they closed the lid and duly buried the guy. Well, sometimes we get so caught up in being something else that we have forgotten who we are, that when we do come to the surface, it's like you're not recognized. Oh, that's not you. Go back to sleep. Sometimes we have so lost touch with what's inside of us that we have died inside and forgotten who we are. We have underestimated who we are. You underestimate what it is you deserve. You underestimate how worthy you are to experience the fullness of the gifts of this world and this life. But what needs to change, or what needs to happen for that recognition, is for you to now start sharing those gifts. It's time for you to share your gifts. It's time. But Christian, I don't know. I'm getting up there. I'm slowing down a bit. I was told not to worry how old you've grown, but to worry if you've grown up. If all of a sudden I've got this grown-up consciousness that forgot that child inside that loves to play, that loves to express, that loves to share as its gift, loves to step out there, loves to risk. If all of a sudden I'm worried about I'm getting too old, as opposed to I've grown up and I've got this maturity that keeps me that dead inside, that doesn't allow that playful youngster, that childlike expression of my being to come forward, because it is caught up in the fear and the heaviness of the thought of the day in my mind. What am I going to do here? I'll tell you what, you want to know what it is that is yours to do? Should I do this? I've got this question. The shortest way to answer that question, what is mine to do here, is to ask yourself, what would someone who loves themselves do? It's a good barometer for you to work with. What would someone who loves themselves do here? Would they allow themselves to be a doormat? Only one who appreciates a doormat are those with dirty feet. What would love do here? Someone who loves themselves. Would I allow myself to be treated in less than a glorious kind of way? You deserve so much in your life and your world. And it starts inside of you, not because I'm looking for support on the outside, but because there's something inside of me that is willing to take that next step. I may only step a few inches in that direction that I want to go, but I'll tell you what, a few inches is a lot closer to your goal or your vision than a mile's worth of intention. Hold that vision from the inside, that dream, that divinity of my being. What is it that is stirring here? And I want you to remember, there aren't just a few that have been given the power to make their dream happen. There's not just a few individuals that have been blessed from on high to be this great expression in life. I want you to get that everybody has been given the same power, the one power, the only power, that infinite power, that omnipotent, that omnipotent, that omnipresence. It is everywhere. No one has been denied the power to make their vision or their dream come forth, but it starts inside of you, knowing that you are worthy, that you're entitled, that you can make that happen. And in going for that, that's called life. That's what life looks like. And you're going to hit some bumps. And the best thing for bumps, I find, is laughter. Laughter is the shock absorber for the bumpy road in life. Yeah. Can't even tell you how much I laugh at myself. I listen to me stumbling over my tongue on Sunday mornings. Oh, man. But that's who I am. And that's the thing. You've got to learn to be who you are. But what happens a lot of times is when it's not quite going right, we might just kind of fudge the perspective a little bit. We may just kind of not be quite as truthful or cover up, just with a little lie. Not that we would call it a lie, but I want you to know something about a little lie. A little lie doesn't cost you a little truth. Right? A little lie costs you the whole truth. A little lie costs you the truth. It costs you your integrity. It costs you the case. It costs you your conscience. Just a little bit. It's not like a little for a little. A little bit costs you the whole shebang. And that individual that you lied to will now own you. That situation now owns you because you've sold out. Now you got to continue to pretend, uphold it, or just try not to think about it, or no, it's going to go away, or whatever it is. It now owns you. And those who have kids who see that little lie, and they now know that you are beholden to that situation. They're no longer your kids. They're children of that lie. So if you're lying about money, they're now children of money. If you're not being truthful about yourself, or you got this pretense or this illusion, they're now children of the pretense and the illusion. Do you get that? I mean, that's how damaging that is. When you're coming from the inside, you've got to come from the truth of who you are to be congruent from the inside to the outside, because the world will reflect back to you where it is you're coming from. So sometimes you need to just, okay, tough it up here. I blew it, or you blew it. Either way, I got to forgive here, one way or the other. You know, it takes a lot of love, a lot of self-love. I've heard it said that love is not for the faint of heart, actually, because it takes a lot to be able to say, you know what, I'm going to be into forgiveness, which means my past, I'm going to give up trying to make it any better. Because my past is what my past is. That's what it is. And I'm going to begin to practice forgiveness here so I am free from that. So I can begin to move forward in my life. Now, there's not like a commandment that says, thou shalt forgive. It's like just morally obvious that once you begin to practice it on the inside, this forgiveness, I begin to come back into greater harmony, greater sense of dignity, greater sense of well-being on the inside. When I feel good on the inside, that is what goes on the outside. And truth be known, the forgiveness thing is really for you. It's not for the other person. They're not really holding you in prison. You are holding yourself in prison because of those actions. It's time to let it go. The old story of a couple of prisoners of war after the war. They hadn't seen each other for years. They'd been released. Finally, after years, they got together. And one of the guys, asked his buddy, he said, have you forgiven those jailers yet? He said, no, I'll never forgive them. He said, well, you're still in jail, aren't you? You need to be free inside. If you want your world to be the unfolding place for your vision, for your gift, then you've got to do the inner work. I mean, that's how it works. And I want to fess up that forgiveness usually is a process. I personally like instant, all done, I did it, I'm good, okay, next. But one of the things I notice with forgiveness is it's a process that I have to go through, the rage, the disappointment, the anger, the sorrow, the grief, the healing. It's a continuous thing to work on. And as I do that, it's not like I'm running away from anything. The truth is, I'm running to myself. I'm running to myself. The artists, they're able to catch an inspiration. And then they get their whole being into bringing it forth. It's a combination of the inspiration and the logic. And sometimes logic doesn't belong in that inspirational moment. I can assure you logic doesn't belong in the forgiveness work also, because forgiving that jerk just doesn't logically make sense. It's soul work that forgiveness comes out. And I want you to know, to bring forth your gift, it comes from inspiration. It comes from that inspirational download. And as you begin to be in that place of inspiration, you open yourself up. And once you catch the inspiration, then you begin to write it. The artist or the musician, or even as a writer, you catch the inspiration, you get it down, and then you go back with the logical, rational mind and start the editing. And oh gosh, that's work, I can assure you. That's not quite as fun as, yes, I'm a channel. There's a place for the inspiration, there's a place for logic as you walk in this world. And it's the balance between the masculine and the feminine, the yin and the yang. It's as we begin to work that and trust that, we recognize the value of the fullness of who I am, of who you are. Yes, I need to listen to my heart, and yes, I need to take action. And recognize that the universe, the world, conspires to support that vision that you have, so it can show up with an ease and a grace Not by might, not by strength, but by the grace. Not by manipulation, not by little lies, but by grace. When you're living from the inside out, you're moved, but you got to know it. You got to go there. You got to experience it. I'm talking about it, and your heads are going, yeah, you know what I'm talking about, right? But I can't really put it into words. We got 2 or 3 yeses. Well, that's a start. It's the story of an explorer who returned to his village, who went to explore the Amazon. Everybody was really excited to hear his stories. But his heart was flooded. It was overflowing with everything that he saw. And how could he even begin to explain the beauty of the floral displays, the flowers, the lush green jungles, or the sounds of night, the jungle, or the smells of the river, and the humidity, and the fear, or the excitement that comes up with the danger of the jaguars, the animals, or canoeing down the river and going over the rapids. You can't even begin to explain. And so he says, guys, you got to go there for yourself to experience it. I'm going to draw you a map so you can find it. And so he drew them a map of the Amazon River, and they were so excited with this map that they took it, they framed it, they put it in the city hall. And anyone who was able to get a copy of it, they studied it. They became the expert of the Amazon. They could tell you how long the river was, how wide it was, how deep it was, and exactly where the rapids were. They knew it, or they thought. There is a profound difference about talking about that inner kingdom, that inner space, that mountaintop, that higher place. Big difference between that and going there. And the heads that are nodding said, yes, I've been there. I get it. It's right. It's magical. James von Praagh, he writes, that when we are touched by Spirit in a big way, I've heard this referred to as a peak event. Such an experience is often described as a transcendent moment of remembering. The veil has been lifted, and a nugget of truth has entered our consciousness. A new piece of information fits into place, and it seems right. Oprah calls these aha moments. The experiences are events that open our soul up to our spiritual heritage and remind you of who you are truly. And when you're filled with Spirit, you feel a connection and a oneness with everyone. Your soul will have a sense of joy and peace with a focus on service to others. There's part of you that remembers the spiritual heritage, the essence, the one word, the Word of God, the gift, what you came here for, to do, to be. I equate that to a story that was been used a while back about an Egyptian tomb they opened up. If you remember, or your stories from Egypt, that the pharaohs are put in there with all sorts of food so they can eat in the afterlife. Well, this one tomb they opened up still had seeds. And what the scientists did is they planted those seeds, 5,000-year-old seeds, and they began to grow. Wheat, they were wheat seeds. 5,000 years later, there was something in that seed that remembered. There was that entelechy, there was an intelligence, there was a coding, there was a knowingness 5,000 years later. I want us to get that inside of us, no matter what mistakes or faux pas or bumps in the roads or little lies or forgiveness given or not given, whatever has taken place, there is that entelechy, there is that intelligence, there is that wisdom, there is something that remembers its heritage, it remembers that Word of God that cannot be denied when it is tapped. And I want to assure you, you didn't come into this world so you could have 3 square meals a day, so you could get up, go to work, come home, eat again, go to sleep, and wake up so you can do it again tomorrow. There is something inside of you that knows. And it doesn't matter where you are in your life, what your physical condition is, or how old or young you might be. Don't worry about that. Listen to that childlike something that says, hey, coach, let me in. I got something I got to share. I got to get out there. Come on. I want to be out there. I want to march. I want to speak my truth. I want to be seen for who I am. Because who I am is deserving. You see, we're dealing with that which is infinite. And in the infinite are the infinite forms and variations of the one. And all those forms and variations are spirit, which says you as a unique facet of that one diamond of expression, God, is God. Your consciousness is God. So what is mine to do in this world is to express that. Is to express that divine nature with who I am, with where I am, and what it is I have got to share in the moment I become consciously remembering the truth of my being. And so on this day when I say, got to bring it from the inside out, I'm not talking about that cartoon that was a big hit last year that was up for Best Picture. I'm talking about your soul that is always up for its best expression in the now moment. God bless you in your self-expression. Love you.
Well, hi, my name's Jeanette Alexander. I saw James Van Praagh here at Seaside last year, and it was an eye-opening experience, heart-opening experience as well. I had never been to something where he is a medium for the two worlds, so he calls in the spirits, and he does it in a very humorous way, and the information he conveys is all for the healing and to get information to the loved ones from both sides so that they can resolve any sort of unresolved issues or any kind of sadness or turmoil. It's all for health. It's all for healing. And for instance, he'll be on the stage and he'll mention someone's name or the characteristics, and then someone in the audience will resonate with that and stand up. And then they have this conversation. It's amazing. And it's truthful, and it's done with love and reverence. And I recommend it to anyone who's passed on to the other side, but also to anyone that's interested in this, because the people who come to Seaside is a family, so you'll find things that happen to your friends or loved ones. It's interesting. It's a very interesting night. It's a fun night, and I recommend it to anyone. And I went last year, and I'm looking forward to going again.
Such a long way home. Yes, all are welcome here. Behold the love. Behold the light in your mind, in your heart, in your soul. And all your searchings brought you to this place. You cry for mercy and you long for grace. Feel the love, feel the light. Won't you come in from the cold? 'Cause all are welcome here. Feel the joy, yes, all are welcome here.
All Are Welcome Here, from the album Path of Light, was co-written by Peggy and Reverend Christian Sorensen. It's available at www.peggylebo.com.